Alright, it's almost safe to say that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a direct sequel to Final Fantasy VII, but without any actual confirmation, it still leaves us to speculate a little bit. I want to talk about why I think we're looking at a sequel to the original Final Fantasy VII game. It seems Aerith in the remake already knows or has past knowledge of the original events. But how? How would Aerith know any of this? Well, she is an ancient, of course, and who knows what other freaky magic she possesses. There was an article that I read where they recently interviewed Kitase and they asked him about the Final Fantasy VII Midgar part when you return to Midgar and you can go back to the church and you actually see Aerith working on her garden. And then as soon as you run up, it looks like, she just vanishes here. So it was a little strange and they asked him, what's that all about? His response was that he would leave it up to the fans' interpretation. And to me, if you're going to leave it up to my interpretation, then I interpret that being the fact that actually Aerith is still alive, her presence is still around. So let's just take a look at some of the evidence on why Aerith already knows of the past events and why Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth are both direct sequels. For one, she knew Cloud was already a merc when they met in the church in Remake, and why would she know that? Unless she already knew of past events.
Bodyguard work's not too different from merc stuff, right? I guessed. From the sword.
Next, we have Tifa asking Aerith directly to help out with Marlene, and Aerith already knew what to do. She knew she had to go to 7th Heaven to save Marlene, and people like to say that, well, Tifa said Marlene's name, but the fact that she was just so on it and knew directly what to do and where to go leads me to believe, once again, she knows of past events.
Aerith, there's a bar in the center of town, 7th Heaven. I need you to
get Marlene to safety, right? It's okay. I'll find her.
Huh?
And another thing is, when she meets with Marlene, she does some magic, some type of ancient magic to let Marlene know that everything's going to be okay. And that is so overlooked, and a lot of people, they don't realize, like, what is Aerith even doing there? Doesn't really make sense, but definitely something to point out. Another thing that kind of goes over everyone's head is that Aerith knew that Cloud was lying about the flower. When they were walking back to Aerith's house, she asked him point blank, "What'd you do with the flower?" And what did Cloud say? I forget. He definitely didn't mention what he did with the flower, though. He lied. And Aerith knew he was lying.
You give it away?
I did.
Ooh, to who? Tell me.
Don't recall. What?
Thought you didn't like lying. Well, anyway.
Another thing is when Aerith and Cloud are taking a break, they sit up on that slide, and Aerith actually mentions Zack's name. It seems like she may have tried to mention his name to see what would happen, and obviously she realized that was a mistake. That just screws things up even, screws it up even more.
Are you okay?
Another thing is when the plate was falling, she was very reluctant, very hesitant, didn't say anything, almost as if she already knew what was going to happen and there was nothing she could do to change that. And she really wishes she could. She tried to get more people to escape, as you can see, but that was really it. She was very quiet, very numb on what was going to happen.
Please, let us through!
And there was a moment in the game, I forget where, I'll have to find it, but Tifa straight up asked Aerith, maybe it was multiple times, straight up ask her, "What's going on? What are you not telling us?" And even Aerith tries to explain it, but maybe even Aerith doesn't understand it, but she is seeing past events, and she can't even talk about it, it seems like.
Right.
Aerith, what are you not telling me?
Huh?
It's funny that Rebirth can really go in any direction. It could stick with 95% of the original storyline, or they can completely change the events that will happen. I hope things are changed just so we have that element of surprise in the storyline. I mean, would they save Aerith and maybe Tifa and Barrett die? They already teased that in the remake. Something like that would really rip our hearts out again if they change something up. I mean, if we see Aerith die again, we're just gonna have that empty pain in our hearts because we already know. Or they can completely change the events and maybe Barrett and Tifa die. I know that sounds crazy, but they almost kind of teased it in Remake.
No!
Alright, I just wanted to say that I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a sequel, and Hope has a few surprises for us. So that's it, guys. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Thanks.
So, what's next for you?
A little bit of bodyguard work.
Right.